11.12 has arrived, and we're ready to set you guys up with the 3 best solo carry champions for every role. Our analysts have picked these champions based on their strength in the current meta and ability to 1v9 games if played to their potential. For our question of the day, would you rather wait 10 minutes to find a lobby but never get an autofill teammate, or have instant queue pops with an autofill every few games? Autofill has always been such a hot topic in the community, and for me personally, I would wait 10 minutes each time I queued up if it meant no autofill teammates. It's crazy how many times I get a 1-minute queue pop and either myself or a few teammates are off roll. You could argue though that the 10-minute queue time would be a waste if people were to dodge lobbies, so both choices have their downsides. Anyway, let us know which you guys would choose down in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to drop a sub to stay up to date with all of our future content, and with that said, let's get it. Kicking it off in the top lane, we have Shen, who's become even more ridiculous with a new build. Shen ult buff, which gave the shield a bonus health ratio combined with the Warmog's buff, have worked out way too perfectly. Players who rush Warmogs on Shen are winning at absurd rates right now, so if you haven't jumped on the train, don't wait any longer. With Warmogs and Frostfire, the shield on Shen ult in mid-game is completely broken. Shen doesn't have any terrible matchups in the meta right now, and by running Ignite, it allows you to pressure a little more, even in those more difficult lanes. Mordekaiser is one matchup that can give Shen some issues, so banning him out is a solid idea. The sample hard carry build is Warmog's Rush into Frostfire Gauntlet 2nd and Titanic Hydra 3rd. Take Grasp as the keystone with Shield Bash, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. Secondaries are Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. Despite the Wukong nerfs, we still have him rated extremely high for 11.12. Nerfs are more of a slap on the wrist than anything else. With how broken Wukong was last patch due to the Divine Sunderer and Black Cleaver buffs, it would have been more of a surprise if he wasn't nerfed a little. The nerfs don't hide the fact that his meta matchups are still insanely good, which makes Wukong a really reliable blind pick. Ban out Malphite or Gwen and it'll be a walk in the park against all the most played AD top laners. Continue to abuse the core build of Divine into Black Cleaver before Riot decides to nerf it. Pick up Sterix 3rd and your durability goes through the roof while your DPS threat is just as strong. Conqueror is Wukong's best keystone with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Grab Resolve for secondaries, running Bone Plating and Unflinching. Sett has really flourished as a highly contested carry top laner as of recent, and for good reason. This may be the last patch you'll be able to spam Sett though, as Riot intends to implement changes to Stridebreaker in 11.13. Sett was directly buffed a few patches back, which was the main ignition to his rocket in strength. Wukong is one of the few matchups Sett tends to struggle against, so make sure to ban him out. Many high elo Sett players have been gravitating away from the Blade of the Ruined King rush towards a more durable health stack setup. Stridebreaker Rush into Sterix 2nd and Titanic Hydra 3rd is the build. Both Titanic passives scale off of health, so picking it up 3rd once you've got a mass amount of HP from your other 2 core items is really valuable. Pick up Conqueror for the keystone with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Second Wind and Revitalize work great for secondaries. Riot tried to bring down Shaco with the Hail of Blades nerfs last patch, but they failed to do so, and he's yet again a top 3 solo carry jungler. Shaco was buffed so many times over the past few months, which led to his rise and locked him in as a very consistent pickup. Shaco thrives in solo queue due to his strong early gank threat and stealth factor. Being able to avoid wards by jumping over walls and popping up behind the enemy provides so much constant pressure. Just by picking Shaco, the enemy is obliged to play safer, or you'll pick up free kills all over the map. AP and AD are equally as viable right now, which adds to Shaco's blind pickability. The AD setup consists of Duskblade Rush into the Collector 2nd and Essence Reaver 3rd. Runes are Hail of Blades with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collector, and Relentless Hunter. Grab Triumph and Alacrity for secondaries. Liandry's into Cosmic Drive and Zanya's is the best AP build. You'll want to run Dark Harvest with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collector, and Ultimate Hunter for primaries. Transcendence and Gathering Storm are the best secondaries. Xin Zhao is on a whole nother level right now, which is why we're super surprised he wasn't nerfed in 11.12. Shen will surely be hit with some sort of nerf in the next few patches, so look to abuse him while you can. The early gank power and simplicity of Shen's kit are what puts him above the rest. Jungle respawn timers being increased and catch-up XP reintroduced were the tipping factors to Xin Zhao's domination. The endless amount of build variations allows Shen to adjust to every game, which helps him succeed into all types of team comps. For a tankier build, rush Eclipse into Sterix and Guardian Angel. The burstier crit setup consists of Shield Bow into Essence Reaver and the Collector. HOB is still Shen's best keystone even after the nerfs, followed by Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collector, and Relentless Hunter. Triumph and Alacrity are secondaries. Kha'Zix has seen a steady rise in strength and popularity over the past patch and will be our 3rd solo carry jungler of 11.12. Indirect nerfs to junglers like Elise, Lee Sin, and Udyr have led to Kha'Zix leaping back up in priority. It seems like this is a common theme to all the top junglers right now, but Kha'Zix also has many adaptable build paths depending on each game. Over in EU, many high elo Kha'Zix players are popping off with a Gore Drinker into Serpent's Fang and Black Cleaver setup. In games where the enemy comp has more bruisers or tanks and you won't be able to one-shot with lethality, this bruiser Ka build can work wonders. Conqueror will be the keystone with Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Grab Sudden Impact and Ravenous Hunter for secondaries. Lethality is still the way to go in most games, especially if the whole enemy comp are squishies. Prowler's Claw into Serpent's Fang and Edge of Night can work great as the core setup. Dark Harvest with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collector, and Ravenous Hunter are primary runes. Absolute Focus and Water Walking are for secondaries. If you enjoy smashing lane and making Yasuo players miserable, then there's no better option than Rumble Mid. The amount of easy, hard-winning matchups Rumble has in the solo queue meta is pretty crazy right now. Rumble dumps on Zed, Yasuo, Yone, Sylas, and you're almost guaranteed to see one of those picks every second game. Win lane, perma-shove waves, roam around the map, and Rumble can be the most impactful mid laner in the game. Kassadin is one of the few matchups Rumble struggles with, so using your ban on him is a good idea. The standard build is Night Harvester into Zhonya's and Void Staff. We covered more of a bruiser setup in our Korean builds video this patch of Riftmaker into Demonic Embrace and Zhonya's. Conquerors runs the keystone with this setup and gives Rumble more strength against other bruisers or tankier comps. When you're against those squishy melee mids, running Electrocute with the Night Harvester build is the optimal play. Another patch without any significant mid lane changes means another patch with Sylas in the top 3. A consistent meta isn't really a bad thing though, as you have more time to really hone in on a couple OP picks and abuse them for freelo. Sylas has been on top of the mid meta for quite some time, ever since Everfrost and Cosmic Drive saw massive overhauls a few months back. Sylas's meta matchups are really solid into picks like Zed and Akali, while Katarina and Galio are two annoying picks you should consider banning out. Complete build is Everfrost into Cosmic Drive and Zhonya's. On that 2-item completion, you can really run away with games as the ability haste stack is perfect for Sylas's kit. You'll grab Conqueror as the keystone with Presence of Mind, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Biscuits and Cosmic Insight are standard secondaries. To round out our top 3 for mid lane in 11.12 will be Katarina. Thanks to the Divine Sunderer buffs last patch, Katarina's builds can be so adaptable, and for that reason, she moves up in priority. The snowball potential, roam power, and ability to flip a game with one good opening in a teamfight make Kat such a scary pick. If your team is lacking AD damage, then be sure to try out Blade of the Ruined King Rush into Divine Sunderer 2nd and Titanic Hydra 3rd. All 3 items synergize amazing with Katarina's kit, and the setup is super sleeper OP. When building AD, take Conqueror as the keystone with Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. After the Ravenous Hunter nerfs, more and more Cat players have been going Resolve secondary with Bone Plating and Unflinching. Standard AP build is Nashor's Rush into Riftmaker and Zhonya's. You can take Conqueror as well if you prefer, but Electro tends to work better when building AP. Ezreal is suddenly the #1 ADC in the game, and it's for a few different indirect reasons. Divine Sunderer and Frozen Heart were just buffed in the previous 2 patches, which is massive for Ez. Max health damage from Divine's Spellblade proc was increased from 10 to 12%, and because Ezreal Q can proc Spellblade so consistently, that change is crazy value. On top of this, the heal from Spellblade was increased from 3 to 4.8%, giving Ezreal even more survivability. 3rd item, Frozen Heart, is what really seals the deal as you turn into a literal tank ADC. Frozen Heart has been buffed in 3 different ways over the last couple patches, and is a great cheap defensive pickup for Ez. The mana and haste from the item are stats Ezreal really likes, while the 80 armor completely shuts down AD assassins. Full build is Divine into Manamune and Frozen Heart. If the enemy comp is lacking any sort of AD threats, then building Cyrilda's 3rd is the better option. Conqueror with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace are primary runes. Pick up Biscuits and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. It took half a season, but Kog'Maw has finally found himself in a really great spot due to a couple of buffs and some new builds. The item combination of Wit's End and Immortal Shield Bow gives Kog'Maw so much more strength, as you can survive for way longer and still pump out great DPS. Even throwing a Randuin's Omen in there as a 3rd or 4th item has proven to be a really great strategy. If the enemy comp is full on Assassin, you can even take Exhaust as your secondary summoner to cut down on their burst even more. Kog's weakness has always been the fact that he's too vulnerable and can get blown up so easily in fights, so these newfound defensive setups help to shore up that weakness. A Wit's End rush into Shield Bow second and Hurricane third can work wonders when you're against a heavy burst comp. Skipping Shield Bow and going into an earlier Hurricane is also a viable strat if you feel safe enough to do so. Lethal Tempo is Cog's best keystone, with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter are the best secondaries. Many of these top solo queue AD carries see a little more separation from the rest as a result of the Varus and Kai'Sa nerfs. Vayne is no exception, as she'll continue to dominate and lock down a top 3 solo carry position for 11.12. Kog and Vayne are 2 picks our analysts really like right now because you have really viable defensive and offensive setups. In games where the enemy has an AP assassin jungle and mid, you can build Shield Bow and Wit's End on Vayne to completely nullify their threat. When you're popping off or the enemy comp lacks those heavy dive champions, then a Kraken Slayer into Phantom Dancer and Infinity can work great as a hard carry build. Lulu, Yuumi, and Karma all having over 10% play rates is perfect for Vayne and adds to her hyper carry ability. Run Press the Attack as your keystone with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. Secondary page is Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter. Moving on to support to round out our solo carry picks, first up we have Senna. We were the first to tell you guys about the Divine into Black Cleaver build a couple patches back, and now it's really starting to take off in 11.12. Riot wanted these tankier setups to be phased out on Senna, which is why they nerfed Frostfire, but that's backfired pretty hard. Divine and Cleaver is slightly less durable, but still keeps you really safe, while also providing way more damage than Frostfire. Sundra works way too well with Senna's Q, since she can proc the Spellblade passive so frequently. You can transition into a rapid-fire cannon to round out the core build. The health stack, haste, damage, and added range from the fire cannon all come together to make this core build super broken. Pick up Glacial Augment with free boots, biscuits, and approach velocity for primaries. Secondary runes are Presence of Mind and Alacrity. Zyra has made really great leaps in strength thanks to the direct buffs, which has propelled her into an amazing state for solo queue. The raw damage and carry power Zyra possesses gives you the ability to impact games on your own, which is huge as a solo queue support. The less you have to lean on your carries to make plays, the better, and Zyra can find great picks with the root from E and annihilate any squishy with a full combo at level 6. The only major downside to picking Zyra is that she's very squishy, so you need to be wary of that early on. Banning out Leona or Thresh will suit you well since they are highly contested engaged supports. As long as you're playing behind waves and poking the enemy ADC when they go for last hits, you'll have great success with Zyra in 11.12. Full build is Liandry's and Azanya's and Demonic Embrace. Comet synergizes very well with Zyra's kit, followed up with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch. Secondary runes are Taste of Blood and Relentless Hunter. No Lulu nerfs for yet another patch means she'll be back once again as a high priority pickup. Lulu is without a doubt the best enchanter support for 11.12 as her ability to enable her carries is so insane. The speed boost from W and Shirelia's active buffs up your teammates' mobility extremely high and makes it almost impossible for them to get caught out. We really don't know how Shirelia's hasn't received a nerf yet, as the item's been so powerful ever since the buffs. The top lane meta right now is dominated by these less mobile bruisers like Sett and Mordekaiser, so being able to shore up their main weaknesses by purchasing one item helps those picks out tremendously. Full build is Shirelia's into Ardent Censer and Staff of Flowing Water. Pick up Guardian as the keystone when playing against hard engaged melee supports, and Airy if you're laning versus other ranged supports. And remember, if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap it all up for the best solo carry picks of 11.12. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all our future content. Thank you all so much for watching, best of luck out there on the Rift, and we'll catch you in the next one.